I really wanted to make a toy. It didn't have to be a licensed character, I just really wanted to make something. It took a while and it took a lot of going to Japan and networking, but I eventually lined up with the right people and got my first toy made, which was Boss Carrion. And after that, again, I got another toy made, which was Salamander Joe, and then after that, Mockbat. And here I am today after, what, almost 18 years maybe of making toys. My first character, Boss Carrion, was inspired by elephants and squeaky toys. I like the aesthetic of squeaky toys and the aesthetic of, say, Kewpie dolls. They're very crude but smooth and kind of cute. I decided to go for that kind of aesthetic on the first one, but with a twist. Boss Carrion has a fish head on his butt and he's got a bat head on his arm. So my characters are kind of like you know, a Hydra. They grow off of each other. Salamander Joe came from a physical manifestation I had where I had a horrible rash, and I sculpted him to exorcise the rash from my body. And he was originally named Alien Welt, but he just became kind of like the main evil guy and developed this story of this mad scientist would creep into other dimensions, and when he came back home he would have creatures in him. He began to become evil, and his planet got into a war with him that lasted 500 years till he was kicked off his planet and came to Earth to cause trouble. But this is a story for another day. But Salamander Joe's always been my favorite. Mockbat, who was created by Salamander Joe. It was originally a pet for his daughter. And Mockbat is, I think, just a cool combination of bat and turtle. And another one of my favorite characters is Machine Gun Ghost. He's part of the Gobo gang. He's brain of a gangster implanted in a mechanical ghost monster. He has a machine gun for an arm, and he's one of my favorite bad guys. My first character was with Super 7, and it was Party Ball. I designed for a small line they did, and that was sculpted by Gargamel. After that, I began trying my hand at sculpting, and I sculpted Boss Carrion. I had a friend in Japan who helped me get it produced, and there was not many people doing it at the time. It was pretty much unknown. Once people started getting into the hobby and noticing these new toys such as fight figures, people got the bug, and then more and more makers started to appear. As far as challenges, it was in the fear of challenges that I took the risk, and I actually flew to Japan and hung out with the makers in the factories and communicated direct. And that really helped to pretty much squash any trouble I would have. I think the worst part about it was the paint availability, was getting the paint. But like I said, if you go to Japan and you network and you meet the people and hang out and have a couple beers and dinner and realize you're on the same page, then they'll help you. And I think people have to remember that. You can't just expect people to do things for you. You have to join with them and have them as a peer. That's how it works. You can't just expect people to do things for you. There's risk with everything. And I think one of the biggest things I remember is riding that razor's edge between something you really love and something you're gonna make money at. And right up the middle is where your hobby's going, and eventually it's trying to split and you're trying to keep it together. You want to keep loving it, but you want to make some money on it so you can keep going. And it's a hard line to straddle sometimes, because you don't want to not love what you do. You want to love what you're interested in, but when it becomes work, it's a different story. And you need satisfaction, and that's where the risk comes in. The tricky part is not worrying about trends or what people think or what thinking people might want, because then you're limiting yourself. And you just gotta keep pushing you into what you do and making your toys the way you want them. Like I said, everything has a risk, but you can't let fear of what people think or what's in trend affect what you make or what comes out of your soul, or else you're really limiting yourself and you just don't feel free. And the hardest part is breaking out of that and going, look, I'm just gonna make what I want. I've been involved in quite a few hobbies in my life, and hobbies need to change. And I always tell everyone this, nothing's a sure thing that goes on forever. And people come and people go. People are into it and people are not. People are into this thing and people are not. You can't take it personally. You have to move on. And I like seeing new people come in and new interests and people that said, oh, I thought I could never get your piece, and then they get one. And I'm like, well, you just started collecting. You know, there's toys that I used to collect that took me years to find. And once I found them, I was like, yes, I did it. I held on, I was patient. I didn't blame an artist. I didn't, blame the toy. I didn't blame all the sellers for not having one. It just takes patience, and patience pays off. And like I said, hobbies change, people change, things change. Nothing stays the same way forever. And people come and people go. You make friends, you lose friends. That's just the way life works. I don't want people stressing out. And Summer Slime has always been about a good vibe environment where people at least come away with something. Come away with talking to friends, or coming away to exchanging information, or networking, or just having a good time. So that's what it's all about in the bottom line of everything. Friendship and love and fairness and a good environment. Because a lot of shows now are just simply stress. And I don't think people that buy your product deserve that.
All right, everybody, are we ready to start Summer Slime 5?
Summer Slime began out of the need to not be at San Diego Comic-Con. I was at a shared table at the time, and the owner had to give up the table, and we were kind of left to drift in the wind, and I talked with the owner of the booth if he would pass it over to us. And he said, nope, I'm not doing that. You guys need to spread like little flowers and do your own thing. And he was right. And owning a booth together can be a little troublesome when everyone's trying to hold it together. And he didn't want our friendships to suffer for it either. And I appreciate the fact that he said that. So we decided to do an off event, not exactly during the con, and we eventually went days after, a week after, and it just turned out to be a really great get-together. We get catering, the weather, it's probably the most beautiful day of the year, every year. And it's just a nice, mellow time, and we can sell some toys and toy people can hang out. That's all we want. Honestly, I can't tell you where my inspirations come from, because it can come from a dream, it can come from wallpaper. The world has some kind of sign saying you need to do this, and you'll see it. It'll pop up before your face. It could be a color, a shape, a song. It could be a lot of things. It's really hard, and I think as humans we get this sensory kind of bombardment on us, but we can take little things and combine them into one cool thing. And sometimes that's where my inspiration comes from. It could be a color, it could be a smell, it could be anything. But I'm always very imaginative, I always have been. I'm always thinking of my own stories and my own characters, because I didn't choose to write comics like I'm pretty sure I wanted to. I didn't choose to make movies. If I'd have done those things, who knows what would have happened, but this is my way of showing characters coming into my mind. And they're all in this universe, And if they happen to fit another universe, great. So right here, I'm working on my new figure, Pogo. Inspired by vintage dinosaurs. This is how I would do one, and this is what we got. And here's his little buddy, and the heads are switchable. I'm doing some one-offs for Summer Slime. This one's not done yet, but there'll be one-offs of Pogo available at Summer Slime, as well as a standard run. I'm lucky, I'm incredibly lucky. I've established myself early in the game, and I really do want to keep doing this. I really enjoy doing it. I love making toys. I love getting a new toy in the mail. There's nothing more exciting. It's total rush. And then after a while, you paint a couple hundred of them, hopefully, pay off the molds, have some money, and enjoy your life. And that's another thing, you really got to enjoy your life and not let this stuff take over your regular social life. I mean, you make friends out of it. That's a sure thing, but you got to get back and live your life, because out of your life comes the energy that goes into these things.